Hello, dear ones. Welcome back to another episode of the Dream Lab podcast. You are in for a treat today. One of my most precious friends is joining me on the podcast today, Chelsea Brokordt. She was there at the very beginning when the Dream Lab course began, and she comes on today to just have a real and raw conversation, sharing her life's wisdom on what it looks like for her to live her dreams in her day-to-day life, where she is writing the story, music, and lyrics for a Broadway play. And she shares a unique perspective, as many of you might also have, because she just became a mom a year and a half ago. What does that look like now that her life has drastically changed and is the mother of a toddler? She also shares how the Dream Lab course helped her gain clarity and why clarity is crucial to pursue your dreams and not burn out. We also talk about pursuing your dreams is not always black and white. And we talk about the Dream Lab being really useful for people who are at a transition point in their lives. She gives you permission in a really beautiful and sincere way that it is okay for you to do and be what you were made for. And in fact, you pursuing your dreams is a reflection of God's heart for those around you, and it's going to help them discover their dreams too. Chelsea is so deep and beautifully articulate. She's funny and profound, and I think you're going to love her as much as I do. Be sure to follow Chelsea on Instagram and join her Patreon for updates on Marian, an original musical about Marian Anderson, the first Black opera singer. Enjoy. So how would you describe the Dream Lab course in your own words? What do you think, what outcome or result did the Dream Lab give you?
Oh, clarity.
Okay.
Absolutely. Clarity. It gave me space, and the exercises that you had us do and the questions that you asked served as a mirror, right? An honest look at what was really important or what was making me come alive the most.
Mm-hmm.
But I was in so much transition, and I had so many competing priorities. It gave me clarity about what to actually spend my time and my energy on.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't have to second guess myself, and I could say no.
Hello, dear ones. Welcome to the Dream Lab, a safe, inspiring place for you and God to dream without limits what you most desire to be, do, and have in your life right now. Every episode, I hold space for you to be irreplaceably you, to explore your unique design and discover your dreams as a reflection of God's heart for the world around you. I am your host, your guide, your encourager-in-chief, Christina B. Come on in to the Dream Lab. Well, welcome to the show, the Dream Lab podcast. We're still very early on in my episodes. I've surpassed the dozen shows mark, so I feel like I've hit a milestone that a lot of podcasts don't hit, and I'm delighted to have you.
Oh, I'm so excited that you're doing this, Chrissy. It is. Am I allowed to call you Chrissy? You'll probably edit it out. Okay.
No.
It's like we've known each other for a long time.
You are free to call me Chrissy because you love me and you love my soul.
I do. I do love your soul. Oh, you beautiful, encouraging soul. This is really, really exciting because when you took me and Elkin through this, almost a decade ago, which is crazy, it really sort of helped me pivot and launch in a really clear direction in my own sort of pursuit of my calling as a creative person. So I'm excited to be able to reconnect with the roots of that. I've been like walking it out for 9 years now. And so it's interesting to think back to the beginnings of, just that pivotal sort of time in my life. So thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, I'm delighted to have you. I just want to acknowledge that you are one of the most persevering people I know. As I look at the journey and the ground you have covered in pursuing this one dream that we're going to talk about in this show, I am astounded. Like, you have carried it so faithfully without wavering, even though I'm sure there were times when you were questioning the wisdom of this choice. I just want to honor how how persevering and unrelenting you are.
Thank you. It's funny. Um, Not that because it is tiring sometimes, and I don't want to pretend like it's not. And it certainly, I think I go through seasons, right? There have been seasons of just long, hard pushes in the writing process, and feeling like, okay, this is the absolute best that I can do. I've done it. I have done it. And then, realizing, oh, there's more. And I could actually write deeper. I could go further. There is more ground to cover. Even this week, Elkin and I had a conversation, and it opened up totally brand new ideas. And I was like, I thought we were done with this draft. And instead, I was like, oh, wow, we just cracked something open, and now there's more to explore. And I think um, if you don't love what you're doing and it's more about the outcome, then it's really hard to be in a long haul process. Um,
Mm,
but if you love the act of doing what you're doing, if you love the act of creating or the act of writing or the process, then there's joy along the way that helps buoy you through the, oh my gosh, we have to do it again. Um, you know, and sometimes I need to walk away and take a few months off and then come back to it and feel like, okay, I'm ready now. And I have renewed strength, if you will.
mm,
Yeah. But it also
mm,
helps to have a team. I'm like very much a team player because
right.
sometimes you just can't, if you're going to do a long haul project, oh man, you just can't carry it all by yourself. I can't. Maybe other people that have different personalities can, but I need people to lean on that can say, you know what, we're not tired right now, and we're gonna take this further down the field, and we know that you're with us, and jump back in the game when you can. So that
Mm.
that has helped a lot. Um, yeah, to not feel alone in the process. That keeps it going too.
Wow, you have just hit on so many truths in that intro. This is why I thought, "Oh my gosh, she is gonna make the best podcast guest ever."
Oh no.
So let me just start out with this question because I think there's so much for us to unpack through a couple of questions in just your intro. What does it mean to dream in your world, Chelsea Marie? What does it mean to dream? What does it mean to live your dreams and pursue your dreams?
Oh gosh. Well, to dream and to live your dreams, I think, are two different things.
Okay, let's
I
do it.
mean,
Let's talk about it.
I mean, to dream, almost like daydream, but without having any teeth, to sink into your life, or to really take hold of something, feels more like an exercise in the imagination, which I think is really important. If you can't imagine a different future, or even a different now, or a different next step, or a different possibility, then how can you change course? Um, so I think the first thing that I would say is dreaming is the capacity to question your current reality, and to imagine something else, whatever that is, right? I mean, I'm starting to imagine that I can make sourdough granola bars. Which seems like a small thing, but I'm such a terrible cook, and I'm
You are not.
starting. Oh, I really am. I mean, I'm a one ingredient kind of person, with some salt. Here's a sweet potato. I put some salt on it.
No, you made me a sweet potato casserole with almond milk, and I don't know what else was in that thing, but I was like, because when I was having such tummy troubles. Anyway, I really enjoyed that. I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is so tasty," and it's not bothering me.
Oh, I'm so glad. Well, okay, so I have my moments, but in just the day-to-day cooking life, Michael does most of it. So, or at least he does
Sourdough
everything.
granola, I'm writing this down.
Yes. Anyway, but go back on point. Like the capacity to um, imagine doing something different, imagine being different, imagine being different in a relationship, imagine that your life could be free of an experience that you're having that's negative, for example. And for me, I really need other people to help tease that out. Um, I need good question askers to pinpoint like the pain points even of what's going on, and then tease out why something isn't working or why it's so painful or why it's so stressful, and then kind of ask bigger questions that are going to help me just get out of my myopic point of view. Because I think when you're in the day-to-day grind and you're just surviving, especially if you are in survival mode, which is very hard to dream when you're in survival mode. Um, it it's very challenging to imagine that there could be something different. Um, and so having a structure or having a person offer you space and offer you a pathway to begin to see or envision something different is um, the beginning of living your dream, right? You have to see it before you can move towards it, or you have to imagine something different before you can begin to even figure out how might that be possible, right? Instead of it's impossible, it's just, well, how might we do that? What if we could? What if I wasn't afraid? What if, what if? And to question my assumptions about what is real or what is permanent. I think that's all part of dreaming too, is being willing to question, uh, yeah, being able to question my certainty. you know, like,
Mm.
I mean, we just kind of get locked in, right? I'm so certain that this is the way it should be, or I'm so certain that this is the only option, or I'm so certain that this is how it's going to work out for me, and we can get kind of fatalistic, right? And forget that we are partners with God in creating our life, and
Mm.
that we have choices. And some of those choices are scary and terrifying and painful. And all of our choices have consequences, good and, negative or challenging and, uplifting. I won't say all of them, but most of our choices have consequences in all directions, right? But it is possible to choose. We do have choice. And that is, I think, very terrifying and very freeing.
At the same time, two sides of the same coin.
Oh, yes, all at the same time. It's a big tangly mess. Yeah.
Okay, so segueing then, because you had started that answer, which is a beautiful answer. I love you hit on so many powerful truths, Chelsea, including that this has to be done in community. I really, really believe that. I mean,
Mm.
some of the work that we did in the Dream Lab, we went off and we journaled answers individually. But then when we came back, I think is where a lot of the power and the richness came
Mhm.
when we were acting as sounding boards and question askers, to use your own words, of one another. So, transition for me, if you will. What does it mean to dream? You just answered that. From there to what does it look like to do that day to day? In your day to day life, you're a new mom. He's a year and a half now, right?
Mhm. Yeah. Yes.
What does that look like now for you to continually choose your dream every day?
Oh my gosh. Well, wow, that is a question I was not expecting. It's funny because today, so this was the first day in 2 weeks that I've had any time to myself, any meaningful time to myself, because my husband travels for work, and so I've been alone with our toddler for 2 weeks. And so I feel like trying to live into my dream, which is I write for musical theater. I'm a writer. I'm a composer, lyricist, um, as well as many other things. Right? If you're an artist, you're probably self-employed doing a gajillion things, or you have a hopefully a day job that pays for your life, and you can kind of do your art in other spaces, or maybe it's your profession. I don't know. There's a bunch of different ways it can work, but for me, I teach music. I music direct. I work sort of tangentially with students doing musical theater, and then I'm a writer. So in the last 2 weeks, what that has looked like is managing my writing time around naps and bedtime. And it has been 100% about trying to figure out the logistics of how do I make an appointment with my writing partner that I can keep, that I'm not going to be too tired to do, Um, do I need to get a babysitter? And, for the first year, I didn't because we just really couldn't afford babysitting. And then someone, again, this is community, right? Someone said, well, isn't there like a kid in your neighborhood that would just come play with your son while you're there? And I was like, there probably is. And I found one. I found a girl in my neighborhood. She's too young to babysit alone yet, but she's great just hanging around with my son so I can get an hour to myself. And it's a lot less costly than paying an adult nanny or something, full time. So, or I trade babysitting for voice lessons. I did that this week. So a lot of my living into my dream right now is managing the logistics of how to do it, being a full-time stay-at-home mom. Um, and uh, I think thankfully I'm far enough into my own creative project and process that I don't have to have the startup energy that I needed at the very beginning because I don't know that I could do that right now in this season. I'm starting up a human, a tiny human. And it's
And starting up a musical.
well,
I
I
would
mean
say.
the musical is ongoing, right? It's I'm on year 8 of that, but it's I don't think that I have for example, I have an idea of like a children's musical I want to write or the next musical I want to write. And I just know in this moment in my life, I don't have the internal bandwidth to expand into a new project beyond both my raising my son and completing the musical that I have spent 8 years working on. And so the great thing about that is my priorities are rather clear. Um, and so I sort of have these dreams that float around of the next thing, and I will make a note, or I'll put it on my shelf, or I'll pitch it to a friend, just so that I'm still reminding myself that there is a future dream that's coming. Like this isn't the last thing that I'm ever going to do. Um, and when there is more space in my time and my mental, emotional life, I can pivot into, starting something new. Um, but right now, living my dream means, you know, first of all, I really wanted to have children for a long time and I didn't, and now I do. And that's very exciting. It's also like such a wild um mixed experience, like um the sort of glorious delight, and also it is very overstimulating living with a toddler. It's a lot. I'm like, I lived until I was 40 just like
Oh my god.
living my creative life, reading and writing in my
Oh,
own little quiet space and like making my food, and I mean, I worked with students, I taught, but then I'd go home and it was so quiet. And now it's just there are unpredictable screams at any given moment that
oh my
I
gosh.
have to try not to react to. So, it is both glorious and it's huge pivot.
Yeah.
So I think that the reality day to day of living into your dream, whatever it is always my I'm guessing, I can't say for everybody in all circumstances, but for me, the reality of living into my dream of being a mom, the reality of living into my dream of being a musical theater composer, there is always a cost as well. It's never like, woohoo, everything is going great and I'm coasting now. Like the dream isn't to coast. The dream is to do something meaningful, or lasting, or something that matters. That for me, and um if you're doing that, it's not free. It costs you something. But if it's really your dream, like then the cost is, I think, is bearable in most moments. And so I don't even know if I answered your question, Chrissy. I'm sorry.
No, you did. You absolutely answered my question. And you hit on, again, some really powerful truths in there that if it's really your deepest heart's desire, there are moments where it might feel heavy and you have to make different choices because your priorities have changed. You have a son now. You have to take care of your child. And I've been talking about in some of the prior episodes about like choosing your dreams when faced with a choice doesn't mean abdicating your responsibilities. It just means you have to decide. You only have 24 hours in a day. 8 of those you're sleeping,
Yes,
conceivably.
hopefully.
Yeah, maybe not in the case of new moms and dads. 8 of those, you might have a full-time job, and then
Right?
you have family time and fun time and errands and cooking and cleaning and all of those things.
Yeah.
You have a limited amount of time. You are not superhuman. You
Yep.
can't pursue a dozen things that you're really passionate about, which is why the Dream Lab course really forces you to get clear. And it doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're going to focus on forever and ever, amen, but rather you have a
What's right
finite
now?
amount of time. What is right now?
Yeah.
And in your feedback to me last year when we were together, you said the center of the center. And I wrote that down. And I've been adopting that phrase because I feel like it's so perfect. It's so perfectly articulated as the center of the center. Um, so I think you answered that question beautifully. And what does it look like to take it first from the imagination? You can't do it until you can see it. You can't live a different future until you can perceive that it's there. And then taking the practical, tactical steps every day might look different from day to day, as you articulated as a new mom with a little one running around.
Yeah.
It might not look exactly like you think it will.
No, and it requires it's funny, I was sort of complaining to my husband about this the other day. I was like, "Look, if I wanna work, I have to arrange childcare for every single hour, that I'm working." I was like, "You don't have to worry about that." And it's true. I mean, I do think, you know, I in and also he pays like 2/3 of our bills. So, there's a trade-off. We are partners in our household, um but I do think there is an invisible load for women specifically who are mothers
Yeah.
who or have other family responsibilities. Maybe it's not being a mom, maybe it's an ailing family member or, someone that you are taking care of, right? To sort of balance those things with what is in my heart of hearts. And I think it can be really easy as as women to say yes to a lot of things because we know that they're good things. To say yes to a lot of things where we're helping, especially if you're a Christian and you've been in the church. It's like servant. Being a servant. There's a lot of sort of glory being given to people who say yes a lot, and I think it takes tremendous courage to say no.
Mm.
To be able to say yes to the one thing, you have to say no to a lot of things. And I remember, gosh, this is probably about the same time, maybe a little before we did the Dream Lab. I heard a speaker. She'd come to the MOPS group at my church in Long Beach, and she had written a book. I don't know. She was really amazing, and I can't, of course, think of her name right now. But her whole talk was on how limits um, help create vision. And she said, as a mom, she had so little time to herself, right? That she couldn't say yes to everything anymore. Um, and so she couldn't say yes to all of her dreams as a writer. She couldn't say yes to all of the ideas that came across her mind or across her desk or whatever. And so she started paying attention to what kept her up at night.
Oh, wow. That's fascinating.
What is the thing that I keep thinking about? And that was her clue into what really might I be called to say yes to in this season. Um, and in order to do that, I have to say no to a lot of other things. um, which, for the people pleasers among us, my hand is raised, is, can be really hard. Um, and and yet it's like, oh, that's the liberation though, because if you're doing what you're really meant to be doing, if you're living in the center of the center, um, that purpose and meaning, like it's right there with you,
Mm,
it's not necessarily just external, from somebody else saying, thank you for helping me. Um, it's, it's living in the center of who you're meant to be and what you are called to give in the world, right?
mhm,
It's not just about dreams aren't, I don't think they're selfish. It's like, who are you called to be in the world and what are you called to make or create or give or build? That is, it is ultimately going to be for others in some way. Um, so anyway.
yeah, no, you're hitting on so much. Oh, Chels,
Mhm.
I don't know if you realize how much wisdom and really deep insights you carry and articulate so beautifully. I agree. I think whatever God has called us to in any season, and I think the beauty of the Dream Lab course is that it can help you figure out what that is in any season of life, whether you've just come out of something painful and have lost a loved one, or you're young and just graduating from college and the world is your oyster. I
Totally.
think this kind of work can help you figure out what the center of the center is for each person in any season of life and perceive that as also for the other people around you. Like this isn't just for you to express your gifts in the world and while you're doing it, it's going to bless the people around you. It can't help but be contagious too because I think as we start to come alive with passions and desires and move towards those with whatever amounts of faith we have. That's the whole mustard seed principle of I just have enough faith to take this baby step. And that baby step might be as simple as I'm Googling something.
Yeah.
Like dial down the stakes a little bit. You're just gonna Google. Like the
Yes.
bar is low. Your only job is to just like ask a
Gather a
friend who
little
does this
information.
thing
Yes,
a question.
exactly. Which is so funny because I think when we think it's gonna commit us for life, you know? We
Yes.
"No, if I take one step, it's gonna commit us for life." I'm like, you could ask your friend and they could describe what it is that you think you wanna do, and you could realize, "Oh, that's actually not really what I wanna be
Yeah.
doing."
And then
Like,
you saved
that's
yourself some time.
totally, yeah, and more importantly, you saved yourself the mental energy
Mhm.
of wondering in the back of your mind, "Should I be doing that? Should I be doing that? Should I be doing that?" Like, perfect example, I really thought I meant to live in Maine, you know? I
I
I'm
love that story.
I am meant to live in Maine, and, like, so, I mean, I went, it was so healing, it was so beautiful, I went back the next summer, I got to live there for 3 months, I got to work on my musical, I mean, gosh, I had an ocean view and a cabin, it was ridiculous, you know, it was so amazing, and I thought, "Okay, I'm gonna live in Maine," and then, the pandemic hit, and all my sort of plans were up in the air, but when I finally did move to Maine in October of 2021, I lived there for 1 winter, and by February, I was like, "I don't wanna live in Maine."
That cured you of your desire to live in Maine.
Did, but
So
you know
funny.
what? I was fantasizing about it. I mean, it became this, if I lived in Maine, we sort of fantasize about these dreams like they're gonna solve all of our problems, and It it certainly did many things for me. There were so many things I loved about it, but I really had such a hard time in the reality of the winter, and I learned I can't do that for the rest of my life. I can, you know, that's not good for my mental health. It's not a long-term thing that will work for me, and I'm so grateful I had the opportunity to do it for 1 winter because otherwise, I probably would still be fantasizing about it, Christina. I'd be living in Kentucky going, "Ugh, my gosh, it's so hot, but if only I lived in Maine, my life would be perfect," It's like, it's not.
Just call me, I'll remind you, you said to me, "I don't ever need to be that cold again."
No, I don't. I don't ever need the sun to set at 3 p.m. Oh, geez.
Oh, Lord, that's funny. But I
But,
do remember very specifically, though, in your visioning exercises in the Dream Lab, you saw very clearly walking down this wooded pathway, and then you came to a lake, and I
Yes.
realized when you lived in Maine and you were sending me pictures, I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's like your vision." And so it's a perfect illustration of how it might not look exactly like what you think it will. You're in your mind, you had to live there,
Right.
but in
Yes.
reality, you got seasons there that served a really deep and beautiful purpose. So
Yes.
you got your vision, and it
Totally.
wasn't meant for you forever.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Which is, sometimes kind of nice when you can just have the good parts. Like, it's, it's like dating, It's like, I mean, marriage is great, but like, dating is fun. It's also not permanent. So it's like, oh, that's,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not gonna, this was fun for a while, and now I'm ready to move on, know. And I dated Maine. I dated Maine.
Oh,
So,
and you decided it was not for you. This is
yeah,
not a long-term commitment you were willing to make.
you know what? We'll be friends. We'll be friends. I'll see you like once a year, maybe in
In the
like
fall.
July. Yeah, in the fall. Yeah, sometime. But yeah.
Oh my gosh, you are so funny.
Yeah, I'm so glad you remembered, um, that sort of ideal day visioning exercise that you had us do because, um, I think we talked about this, but, I had forgotten about that, um, and it makes sense to me because having lived in California for, 15 years at that point, I was so tired of the city, and I was tired of the traffic, and I was tired of the haze, and I was tired of the even the color palette, right? The color palette of Los Angeles, God bless it, it's dusty, The
It's desert.
greens, it's desert. The greens are yellow greens, they're not blue greens, and I grew up in the bluegrass state, so I grew up with huge, immense expanses of green, and, um, living in California, I was like, "Where am I?" Um, and you know what? I don't this is not an all or nothing, right? California is where I met you. California is where I met Elkin. California is where I met almost all of my songwriting partners. So I don't wanna say that place doesn't matter because I think it does. If you wanna be doing something like sometimes you need to move to a place where there are other people that are doing that at a really high level. Um, if that is your vision, right? No, that's not why I moved there. I moved there because my family was there because my dad moved there because he was a composer and he was working in film and TV. So he was doing something at a high level. Um, and it wasn't a hobby for him. It was his career, and he needed to be someplace where as a career he could make a living. So it made sense to be in Los Angeles. I feel very grateful that the connections that I made there are long-term enough, and the technology that we have now is such that I can live in Northern Kentucky and be writing with people in Los Angeles. I can live in Northern Kentucky and be, going to New York for my show. I can, it's like it's easier to live in an affordable place and travel to Los Angeles for a couple weeks at a time. Or at least it was before I had a toddler. I don't know what it'd be like now, but yeah. Um,
Mm.
anyway, so it's when I lived there, envisioning a place that was green and quiet and refreshing, that makes sense because that's what my soul really was longing for. And I had to laugh when I found Maine because it is pretty much as far as you can get on the map of the contiguous, continental United States, as far away from Los Angeles as you can get. It's so
It's like the
far,
polar opposite of everything Los Angeles.
complete opposite corner of the world, like of our country. So yeah, part of me needed to get away, and I did. And
Mm.
I'm very grateful to the people that allowed me to stay with them so that I could write and experience that.
Mm.
A lot of my being able to live into my dream has been because of the hospitality of other people that had an extra room and said I could stay there for, a few weeks or a month or, whatever amount of time. And, I learning to receive that was was part of moving into being able to do what being able to write. So
Mhm.
yeah.
When we did the Dream Lab together, this has been so many years, but it was a little half-baked potato back at that point. It all started with me listening to a message from Chris Valentin. He was like, "If you're feeling stuck, just take a look back. What did you like when you were a kid?" And, he asked all these questions,
Yeah,
and I
I
wrote those
remember that.
down, and then I wrote down a few more, and then it inevitably led me to a conversation with my mom, and I said, "What were my favorite toys when I was little?" Like, what and she was oh my gosh, my mom was so sweet. She was like, "Oh my gosh," and she told me all about, like, you were the easiest kid to entertain, but you were not the kid that would sit in color for 3 hours. I had to have a variety of activities for you,
Oh, that makes
and you
sense.
liked to switch back and forth between them, and I was like, "Oh my gosh,
Also
my
makes
life is
sense.
making so much sense right now." Exactly. So,
Oh,
initially, this Dream Lab, it wasn't called that then, it was just like, "Hey, do you guys" I said to you and Elkin, "Do you wanna get together and go through this thing?" Because we were all sort of a little struggling a little bit, and the 2 of you were like, "Sure," so trusting. You had no idea what we were getting ourselves into, but I remember that day being so beautifully life-giving. It
mm,
was quiet, it was peaceful space. I had 2 people with me who I trusted implicitly with my heart
mhm,
and in with
mhm.
the things that came up,
Yeah.
and I remember so vividly, like, going off and journaling answers to the questions because we all did it together. I mean, I kind of sort of moderated and led us through it, but we all did it together,
Mhm.
and when each of you came back and read your visions out loud, I was, like, in them with you. Like, I was in your vision with you, envisioning all of it, which is the only reason I remembered the whole green space, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you got your vision, like, you're living where what you saw."
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
What was in your top 5? Do you remember? Like, I can remember a few of them, but I think I'm missing one.
Well, do you mind if I talk about the exercise a little bit?
No,
'Cause
not at all. That was another question. So, if it makes more sense to you, like another question was, how did you experience those visioning and journaling exercises? So, yeah, you start wherever you want.
well, okay, so one of the exercises was, like, basically list all of your like, if you're dreaming, right? Like, list all of your possible priorities, right? All the things that you would love to spend time on, kind of, that matter to you, and I think I had a list of 20.
You went all in on that one. I do
I
remember
did.
that. You
I
came back with, "I wanna do all of these."
all of these things, right? And it's funny, I had a boss once, she looked at me and she's like, "You're gonna have a hard time figuring out what to do in your life because you could do a bunch of different things." Um, like if you have gifts that could kind of swing you in different directions, um, you know, she's like, it's gonna take some discernment. And she has not been wrong. I'm very grateful for her. She also was a boss that, like, gave me permission to be, teaching artist in one season, and then when I told her, "I think I'm supposed to be writing music full time," she was like, "You're absolutely supposed to do that, and yes, I kind of, like, release you from this job, and I love you, and I support you," and I was like, "What? What? Who are
Wait, was
you?"
that the purple music bus job that you
Oh, yes.
had?
That was the purple.
Oh, okay. I heard so many stories from that job. Okay, go ahead.
Oh, yes. I know. I was driving a 35-foot school bus that was painted purple and teaching music on it. That was not my favorite part of that
They
job.
were on iPads most of the time, weren't they, those kids?
Ugh,
And I
yes.
remember you saying, "I feel like I wanna tell these kids to get out of the bus, put the iPad down, and go climb a tree."
Totally. I'm like, "Can we just look at each other in the eyes and sing a song?" I'm like, "You're a human. This is not what music is supposed to be." And of course, like, now I work on my computer quite a bit, but, but I also some of my favorite time right now with students is when I have them in a group and they're all of a sudden they break into a harmony and, I'm teaching them a song or whatever. And the first time I was teaching, um, I was music directing for a children's musical at the Children's Theater of Cincinnati. And the first time I taught a harmony line and my students sang it and they were just singing in this beautiful harmony, I burst into tears. I was like, "It's so beautiful." Because that's so human. I'm like, "Oh, we're making the sound with our bodies. It's so wonderful." Anyway, yes. So Oh my gosh. So I came into this, you can edit all of that out, Christina, but
Oh no,
I
we're leaving that in. I'm not editing. I don't have the patience for it.
okay, I'll
So
try to
don't say
stop.
anything you don't want out there.
Okay, fair. Woo. Um, so I came in, I had a list of like 20 things, right? And I think that was probably really reflective of the season of life I was in. I was in a lot of transition. Um, if just I was just in so much transition. I had made an album. I had released it. I had done kind of an inner healing blog. I had done some advocacy for victims of sex trafficking. I mean, I had, and then you and I and Elkin had started working for this nonprofit. I had been a teaching artist. I'd done a bunch of different things, and at that particular moment in my life, um, I was having a family crisis that meant that I needed to kind of become the breadwinner of my family, and it was a rough pivot because I had been sort of working part-time as a teaching artist, which had I been anywhere else in the country between LA and New York, probably would have been fine. But living in Los Angeles, it was, I was my income was below the poverty line. So
Well, yeah,
um
it's like a rite of passage.
it's a rite of passage. Yeah, you just got to do it. That's what, rent a room. Um
Yeah.
so yeah, so I was in a lot of transition and I didn't quite know what to do. And my list of 20 things really reflected that. It's like, do I want to make music? Do I want to do musical theater? Um I think that I had done The Artist's Way.
You
Um
did, because you had pointed me to that one too.
yes, so I'd done The Artist's Way like a year or two prior. And that was another kind of I hate to say program, but a process that helped me just take baby steps towards more clarity, towards uh, discovering some things that I liked. It sort of reconnected me with my love of musical theater. And I was, of course, terrified of that because I thought, oh, no, please, this dream died so long ago. I don't want it to be
Oh,
resurrected.
no.
And it's so scary. I remember because in my first week of doing morning pages where you just sort of free journal 3 pages in the morning, first thing. I mean, you could write anything. One day I just like wrote cantaloupe like 15 times because I couldn't, I couldn't think of anything to say. I mean, it was really, they were like, just keep your pencil moving and have it be continuous. And I was like, cantaloupe, 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 cantaloupe. I was like, I don't know what to say right now. So, and
Oh my god.
I know. It's really funny because today I tried to do morning pages and my brain just wasn't working at all. It's toddler
Oh,
life.
that's
And
funny.
I literally wrote cantaloupe 3 times and then I just laughed at myself and I just closed my journal and I was like, it's going to be fine. I'll do this another day. But I remember in that first week of journaling, it like just came out o off my pencil, of my pencil, like, I wanna take a musical theater class, and I remember, like, putting my pencil down and being like, "Oh, no." Like, ugh, I did not wanna know that.
Oh.
Now I'm responsible for doing something about that, or now I'm running away if I don't do something about it. I was so mad.
Oh my god.
I don't wanna know my dreams, It's like so, when we got to the Dream Lab, I had a little bit of practice, like, taking some baby steps. It probably softened me up a little bit, and I know it was probably helpful, but, um, anyway, so I had all of these sort of reawakened desires, right? I had moved to an apartment where I could have my grandma's piano with me. Like, I'd taken some steps towards a life that felt more, beautiful and full, and, I redecorated my bathroom. Seems like a small thing. It was a huge thing for me,
Mm.
to say, "I can get rid of these towels that are 10 years old, and it's gonna be okay. I can find something that gives me joy every day to look at," and I did, and so taking tiny little steps towards joy, kind of gave me a more proclivity towards it, I guess, and so so we get to this list, I've
Of
got
your
20
20 things.
of my 20 things, and they all feel important. They all
Oh,
feel important. And then you were like, so we're gonna play this game. Like the
it's called Traumatized Chelsea.
Yes, it was. It was so painful. By the way, I have done this to multiple other people now. I'm like, "We're gonna play this game to help you get clear."
You
And
lure them in
I do. I'm like, "This is gonna be so good for you in the end."
in the
You know?
end. You'll thank me later, but not right now.
Totally. Totally, 100%. Oh my gosh. And you did the, like, if you could only have this and never have this, which would you choose? And you went through each item, like item by item. Every priority was compared to every other priority, and they got pushed down or pushed up on the list. And it was so hard because it's so funny. I'm getting a little like emotional about it, but the feeling of like, but these things are good things. And maybe because I want them, it makes me good. Right? Like I wish I didn't have that in me, but I do. It's like maybe helping people in this way or doing this good thing like makes me good, you know, or like it counteracts some shame or whatever it was. But to have to ask myself and like tune into my body and really say, if I could only have writing music and arranging my songs in really interesting ways. And I could never have working with this particular nonprofit with, helping these children. Oh, crap. One of those things makes me look like a good person, and the other one could kind of make me look a little selfish. But writing music was the center of the center for me. And so it was not just a challenge to my priorities, it was a challenge to my identity and how I thought maybe other people would see me and how I saw myself. And it's really scary to let go of things that make you look good um, to others or to yourself, but might not be the thing that you're most called to. And it was terrifying. And yet, Christina, at the end of that, deep, wrenching pain, at the end of like, I'm just feeling like, oh my gosh, I'm bleeding. Like, I'm running through the thorn bushes and I'm like, ugh. Um, at the end of that, I looked at those top 5 things and it was completely clear to me that there was nothing else that was more important to me right now in this season. And I don't actually think I could have done that exercise had you not said for this season.
Mm,
Because if I had to think about it for my entire life, if I had to, because then your identity really gets tied up in it, right? Like, oh my gosh.
yeah.
There may be a moment in my life where working at a nonprofit that helps children is what I'm called to do. Sure. Um, I've actually worked at nonprofits with children on and off my whole life, but I mean, my whole adult career. But it's for this season, what is the truest thing that I think is like the most important to me and that I feel like the most energy around, the most joy around, the most hopefulness around. And I think one of those things was I was trying to find that list and I can't find it anywhere. But it was 2016, so
Yes.
it's been a hot minute.
Minute.
They've shifted, but I know one of those things was achieving time and financial freedom.
Mhm.
And part of that was wanting to have time to do the creative work that I felt really called to be doing, and having the financial freedom to do the creative work that I felt called to be doing. So I didn't know how to achieve that, but that was part of the like part of the vision. Um, and then one of the other things had to do with, I think, writing, like songwriting every day.
Mhm.
Um, And then another one was arranging my songs with composers in really interesting ways. And that seems, you know, dreams are so specific and they're so personal. And for me, that was incredibly personal and very specific because I love songwriting. I am not the best pianist. And so when I get to collaborate with someone who has a gift to bring my songs to life in ways that I can hear, but I can't do, um,
Yeah.
it feels like, oh, I'm living into my fullest creative potential. And also I just love collaborating. So collaborating with composers. So those were three of the things: writing every day, time and financial freedom, collaborating with composers. And I forget the other two, but I think that they were writing or creative oriented.
Musical
Um,
theater was one of them, wasn't it?
I think you're right. I think, yes, something about musical theater. Um, and I don't know what it was specifically, but I think that was, um, that seems right, for, especially for that time, because I pivoted into that. So, um, yeah. And you know, we wrote them down, and then I think that you gave us these little cards to write them
Oh,
down
that's
on.
right. I brought like fancy paper,
You
like pretty,
did. It had
pretty
like
colored paper.
pretty, yeah, totally. It had like flowers on one
Yeah.
side or something. And yeah. So, and I, I don't know if I wrote them or you wrote them. You probably did it because you have better handwriting than me. Um, and gave us like two or three of them. And I taped one of them to the inside of my bathroom mirror.
Mm.
And every time I opened my bathroom mirror to brush my teeth in the morning and the evening, I saw that list. And it was so helpful to have, first of all, to have had the opportunity to get that clear.
Hmm.
Um, because man, there was so much noise and I was pulled in so many directions, and I felt so much stress because I was saying yes to a lot of things that were like good, but not great.
Hmm.
Um, or center, but not center of center, if you will. Like they were in the Venn diagram of things that I love, but they weren't right in the middle of the Venn diagram.
Right.
Um, and so, uh, to have gotten that clear through such a painful process,
Hmm.
um, and to feel very secure. Yes, this is what is most important. Um, I suddenly had a rubric for evaluating my choices and every opportunity that came my way. Um, and I remember one of the things that you said, is, you know, having these priorities helps you get clarity around, again, around evaluating potential opportunities, but it's not the same as, um, knowing exactly how they're going to manifest.
Right. You can't know the how. You don't have to figure out the how.
No, you don't have to figure out the how. And so when I heard this, Kathy Heller podcast about commercial songwriting, I was like homesick one day from teaching. Um, I was like, huh. And I went to my list and I'm like, writing every day, like having to, you know, work with producers or composers to like, you know, record the songs. And for Kathy Heller, that had been a pathway to both time and financial freedom. And I was like, huh, this is a thing I never considered, right? Because I'm an artist. I want to do what's meaningful, you know, and like it's so much judgment. Like if I ever sell my soul, I'll go into like marketing or something. But you know,
I do remember very clearly for you in that moment, you were like, I don't want the commercial, like the pop star kind of like that is not my version of success. I
yeah,
want to write music that deeply impacts people and moves them to feel something, whatever that is. I do remember very distinctly that coming up for you. And then also for you realizing that you needed to develop that songwriting muscle. And one of the ways you could do that by doing it every day was something in the more commercial space like jingles or what have you. And I remember saying to Elkin, as we watched you struggle with this for a minute, and I was like, I whispered, I was like, can't she have both? And Elka was like, she can totally have both. And then like 45 minutes later, you're like, I guess these aren't mutually exclusive. I can totally do both. I can still have my music that like floats my
Yes.
boat and lights up my soul and impacts people in a deep way. And I could have some success over here that might, help pay my bills and whatnot. So,
Totally. And it was exciting to think about, okay, well, what if I could write as a means of paying my bills?
mhm.
Um, because I would be growing that muscle. And yeah, you're right. It can feel so, I don't know if this is true for everybody, but I just feel like I can get so precious about things. you
Like
know?
either or, like it has to be all one way or like
Yes, it's all or nothing. It's
super
either
black and white.
or. It has to look, yeah, black and white. It has to look this way or it's nothing at all. And it's like, actually, that was one of the best, um, probably one of my best grows from the Dream Lab, was starting to move into commercial music, which I did for about 5 years after doing the Dream Lab with you. I spent a significant amount of time doing it.
Mhm.
Um, and and I was, I found Kathy Heller and she was teaching a class. I, I couldn't afford it. And I messaged her about it and asked, and I told her that. And I was like, but I really want to come. What can I do? And she like gave me a deal and let me come to her class. And I did some work for her in exchange. And, um, so even just that, thinking about, is there another way that
Mhm.
I could find a yes, to this? Um, and in that class, one of the things I asked of her is, "Hey, would you connect me with the best songwriters in your class?" It was like 50 people in there. I'm like, "There's got to be people that are they're on their way. Like they're not just at the beginning because I wasn't at the beginning either." Um, and I did some work in exchange for her, and she gave me a list, and I emailed every single one of them, and one of them emailed me back, and she and I got together. We wrote one time, it was magical. She was so amazing. We have created 2 different bands together and written a bunch of commercial music, to pitch for film and TV. We've had some placements on TV together. And, um, all of that came from this tiny little seed of, I wanna be doing this every day,
Mhm.
and I want time and financial freedom. And had I not had clarity around those priorities, I never would have said yes to this. Like,
Right.
it didn't check all of my boxes, but it checked enough of that top 5 that it was worth at least exploring.
Yeah.
And, um, when I look back on that, Christina, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I did. I got to exercise that muscle every day." I met so many people through that class, and I was driving to LA like 3 or 4 times a week to do writing sessions, and finally I just said, "Can we work on Zoom?" So, eventually I got smarter, but for a while it was like, okay, 4 days a week, I'm driving up to write for 3 hours with somebody and we're going to write a song. We're going to write a song in 3 hours. I mean, I had never had that kind of um, time constraint, first of all. Uh, and also, my writing up until then, I had been so precious about it. Like, I have
Mm.
to have all the feelings and I have to have deep brainstorms and it has to be emotional. And it was like, you know what? Actually, this is also just a skill.
Yeah.
And And so it's like, "Oh, we need to write a song about sunshine today? Okay, let's figure it out." And really, it's like legitimate. Like, "Oh, we're writing a song about the best day ever? Okay." And it's funny because I look back on that season and I think about like a weird mercy of God for me in that season was, um, we had this list of here are the most common topics, like these universal themes that you find in a lot of songs. And if you're specifically listening to music for film, TV, and advertisements, I'm not talking about jingles, I mean songs.
Mhm.
You will find these themes crop up over and over again, but they crop up uniquely, right? They crop up. How can you say it's good to be home, but 40 different ways? Um, how do you say it authentically to you? Um, and so I had all of these topics, 95% of which were really positive. And at the time, my life was like my personal life was like in the toilet.
Yeah.
I mean, I was really struggling, and I was yeah, just the breakup of a key relationship, and it was really so painful, and just major life changes were just incredible upheaval. And had I not had the practice of we're writing a song about sunshine today, no matter how I'm feeling,
Oh,
I don't think
wow.
I would have done it. Like, I was in so much personal pain at the time, I couldn't even write about my experience.
Oh, wow.
It was too raw. And so I might have not written very much at all had I not been practicing. I mean, kind of, it's like yoga, right? It's never the final curtain. It's always a practice. Like,
Mhm.
yep, how are we doing today? Um, that's what songwriting was more of a practice. Um, and I got less precious with it, and I got faster, and I got smarter. And no, did I write my favorite song every time? No. But did I learn how to imbue what I was writing with things that were important to me? Yes. Am I proud of what I made? Yes. Is it the deepest writing I've ever done? No. Like, I have other outlets, for that
Mhm.
now. Um, but it was really important for my development as a writer, and I couldn't have seen that at the time. I
Yeah.
didn't know that. It was the next I mean, I took a bunch of little baby steps that eventually ended me there, like ended me up, doing all these writing sessions. But um, as you said, just Googling commercial songwriting,
Yeah.
just Googling if there was a class, just finding out. And then, oh, it's, just, is there a way for me to go even though I can't afford it? Um, none of that would have happened. I don't think I would have taken any of those steps. Um, had we not done that deep clarifying work together.
Mm.
So thank you for that, because I mean, truly really changed the course of my life as a human
Oh.
being, and as a creative person. So you facilitated that, Chrissy.
Oh my gosh. That was such a beautiful time, our time together. And again, you articulate things so meaningfully and so beautifully that I just want to point out something that you said is that you took baby steps. You were
Yes.
listening to a podcast and it resonated with the work that we had just done to come to your top 5. You emailed her. She wrote back and said, "Here's how much it costs." You couldn't afford that at the time, given everything that was happening in your personal life, but you didn't give up. You asked the question, like, "How could I make this work? Could we have a trade? Can I help you in any way on the course in exchange for participating?" And Kathy
Mhm.
Heller, God bless her heart, she's so open and, like,
Totally.
totally an artist in that way and said, "Absolutely, come on board."
Yeah.
And I remember, didn't you do some work with her on, like, helping her structure the curriculum, like, organize it in a methodical, logical way, or did I make that up?
No, I did. Yeah. I So it's funny, she had just made this foray into teaching, um, like this little class that was gathering in Hollywood at this little theater, it's probably a 99 seat theater. Um, she had had commercial success with her own music. She had a licensing agency where she was licensing songs from different artists to pitch for film and TV. She was having a lot of success for that. And she decided, I could probably teach other people to do this. And so she had done a podcast interview about it. That's how I heard about it. And,
Okay.
um, and then, um, she, started teaching this class. It was like once a month on a Saturday. Um, and so the first time I went, uh, I listened to her talk, and it was so brilliant. And she's an incredibly creative person, and she is very good off the cuff.
Yes, she is
Um,
brilliant at that.
totally. And she has like huge ideas, and is very, as many creatives are, very like circular in thinking, right?
Mhm.
Like she she's so fun to listen to, because She has an idea and it sparks another thought and it sparks another thought. And all of them are very valuable. Um, Listening to her, I was like, man, she could put this online and create an online course around this. And I went up to her and said that to her. And she's like, you know what? Somebody else just told me that. And it was like a brand new thing for her at the time. And I said, you know what? I'm a teacher. I have experience in curriculum development. I would love to take all of your content and create linear modules out of it. And she was like, yes, let's do it. and, and I was like, okay, that was hard, and it was great because I got to be steeped in the world, of her content. And she signed up for, I mean, this is one of the things I love about Kathy is she's such a, yep, I'm going to try it. Yes, let's do it. Yes, let's figure it out. Yep. She like just doesn't, when she seems to have a really good sense of what's next for her. Like she's a pretty strong internal compass, I think. And so she just jumps. Um, having a really clear yes helps you jump, I think. And so she jumped into it and she signed up for like, how do you create an online course? And I got to take that with her.
Oh, was that the Amy Porterfield thing?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, I had forgotten that how steeped in all of this you were with her.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I took the Amy Porterfield course with her. I just had her talk off the cuff and like wrote down everything that she said and then try to break it down into modules and like make it into linear, make sense. And then, we went back and forth and I pitched, this is what I'm thinking based on what you said. What do you think? And it was so fun. I made the very first kind of deck of slides. This is her very first course. It has been rewritten and revised since then many times without any input from me, but I was privileged to be part of the first kind of draft, if you will, like first draft of the Dream Lab, the first draft of this. How do you take the content that and break it down so that it can be manageable and teachable to other humans? Like, it was really fun, and being around her was so encouraging. Yeah, she's a remarkable person. So I don't even know how we got off on that, but yeah, like one little yes kind of led to these other yeses, and it made sense. It's like, oh, I get to learn more and be around somebody who's doing this successfully. And she, was one of the first people. She listened to the songs I was writing and gave me feedback on them. And it was really helpful, to have somebody who is living in that world and steeped in that world, that we could do something mutually beneficial for each other. So I was very grateful.
And the weird thing is, Chelsea, I had forgotten all of that. And I was visiting you guys last June, a year ago now, and I was listening to her podcast. It came up in my YouTube feed because at the time I really wasn't listening to a ton of podcasts on my podcast app. Rather, I would I just take my laptop everywhere I go. Wherever I am in the house is usually my laptop next to me and I'm listening to stuff. But I was on YouTube and something of hers came up in my feed and I was like, oh my gosh, who is this lady who's so inspiring and so encouraging and like anything is possible kind of person. And then I just binged a bunch of her content and then she started sharing pieces of her story. And I was like, wait a minute, this sounds oddly familiar.
Yep.
And then she shared that she put together this course in 2016 and someone helped her and initially gave her, I was like, oh my God, I think this is the same person that Chelsea helped. How can this be that we're coming full circle now? But I still listen to, she's one of the top podcasts that I listen to on the regular basis. And very often I will listen to an entire podcast of hers, which I don't often do. Like if something doesn't strike me, I'll just turn it off. But hers is one that if the title captures me, I will listen to the whole thing. Typically, she's lovely.
She is. And she carries that anything is possible energy, which, yes, I think that she is, I don't know how to say this, but kind of uniquely unburdened. But I also know that she's done a lot of work to get there, internal work, right?
Yes.
Like she's she's
Yes.
taken steps toward her own dreams in many, many ways. And, um, but she's a person who she doesn't hesitate. And I think there's a beauty to that. And I think she's willing to figure it out as she goes.
Mhm.
She's willing to not have it be perfect right out the gate. She's willing to kind of learn in real time, and all of that kind of growth mindset makes her go further and faster, you
Yeah.
know, which is something certainly I can always learn from because yeah, having that freedom, that internal freedom, away from I have to get it right. It's like, oh my gosh, well, what if you don't?
Yeah.
What if you don't? Like, what if you can get it wrong and then learn from it and then get it wrong again and learn from that? And like, man, it just she kind of she kind of takes the shame out of failing forward, if you will. Like
Yeah.
she just doesn't stop. She just keeps going and then gets it eventually, which I
Mhm.
love. So
Yeah. I love that about her too.
yeah.
So would that be your biggest takeaway from or aha moment from the Dream Lab course was the narrowing down and forcing yourself to get clear? Is that your biggest takeaway?
I think for me, yes. And doing it in community was really interesting because I think I don't remember all of Elkin's, but I remember one of them was to like love her family.
Oh, that's right.
It was like be present and love her family. And I didn't have kids at the time. I didn't, you know, um so she had all of these other kinds of things, she had a myriad different kinds of priorities, and hers were I think a bit more varied than mine. And um that was the number one thing for her, and it was so clarifying, and it was beautiful for me as her friend because then when she's talking about things, choices she's considering or whatever, I'm like, I'm holding those priorities that were important to her heart as well,
Mm.
you know? And I just remember, um, I don't know if this was part of the Dream Lab, but I think it was. I just remember us both being like, you should be in charge of things, Christine.
That was on my top 5, being an executiving something. We made a new verb.
Executiving. Yes, because yes, and I stand by that, Um, you have yes, you have so many executive functioning skills. It's like very, you know, you should be in charge. Um, yeah, and so for me, the biggest takeaway was having clarity and then being able to move forward with the confidence that even if something didn't look like I thought it would, that it was still in alignment with what was important, and I could trust the next step, whatever that was, even if it was to discover it's not what I wanted, and I haven't done commercial songwriting for the last few years. My priorities really shifted, again, because I moved, I got married, remarried, I had a baby, my father passed away. Like there were a lot of other things. And creatively speaking, I really only had energy and time for one thing. And I devoted that to Mary and the musical I've been writing. Um, but for that season, it was helpful to realize that something I've never considered as a possibility actually might be in alignment with what's most important. And what if like I just said one yes and then just evaluated, right? I'm not again, it's dating. It's dating. So yeah, I think that was my biggest takeaway.
Okay.
It was helped me be really confident.
That's good. So good. Helped you
From
move forward with confidence. This is what I need to
yes.
devote my time and attention to.
Yeah.
So, how would you describe the Dream Lab course in your own words? What outcome or result did the Dream Lab give you?
Oh, clarity.
Okay.
Absolutely. Clarity. Um, it I mean, it gave me space and, uh, the exercises that you had us do and the questions that you asked, served as a mirror, right? An honest look at what was really important or what was making me come alive the most.
Mhm.
Um, but I was in so much transition and I had so many competing priorities. It gave me clarity
Mm.
about what to actually spend my time and my energy on.
Mhm.
So I didn't have to second guess myself and I could say no.
Yeah.
I walked away from the job at that nonprofit. I said no to several other things in order to make space to be able to move into what became my venture in commercial songwriting, but and writing for musical theater. But I didn't know I didn't know what it was going to look like. I just knew, oh, okay, this nonprofit is good and they're doing great work, but it is not at all aligned
Mhm.
with what I
Yeah.
am called to be doing right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that very vividly for all of us. We all loved it and believed wholeheartedly in its mission. They had
Yes.
such a beautiful mission, and they were doing all the right things in terms of how they structured the curriculum and what their vision was. But,
And we were also really helpful to them. Like
yes.
we were bringing a lot of good to that and helping them expand. So it wasn't like we weren't doing good work. We were
Right.
doing good work.
Mhm.
But for all of us, it wasn't um ultimately I think where we were really called to be, you know.
Yeah. Okay, so who do you think the Dream Lab course is for?
Oh gosh.
How would you
Well,
describe it to someone, or, if you were trying to convince someone you think really needs it, what would you say? Who's it for, and how would you describe it to them?
well, it's funny because I think it's changed. I mean, you have added so much content. And I know uh you were telling me specifically about the work that you're doing around the central nervous system and even being able to turn off your fight or flight so that you can begin to think beyond just survival. So, um, I think had you not started doing that, I originally might not have said it was for people in survival mode. Because I do think it's hard to dream
Yeah.
when you're just barely hanging on, and um, but uh, for me, I think it's most useful for people that are at a life transition point. Um, maybe your kids are going to school and you don't know what to do with your time, or you're at a job, but you just don't really love it, or you've got this nagging thing in the back of your mind that you just kind of wish you had always done, but it doesn't make sense, or you are feeling guilty about walking away from something that like a job or a relationship or whatever. I think any kind of transition point where it would be useful to clarify that you're okay and you can have vision for the next right thing to do. Doesn't mean you're going to know all of the steps, but you need to know the next right thing, right?
Mhm.
um and um I also think for people that have not really ever given themselves permission
Ooh.
to dream, if if you're a person that's kind of always been doing what's expected, right? And I think how you haven't given yourself permission to dream is when you feel resentful
Ooh.
hearing about other people that are living into their dreams, right? And I am here to tell you it is not that sexy. It's it is it's really not. It's like I'm
Oh,
like,
but we've
I've
all been
been
there though, right?
totally, but we all have been there, and I think if there's some jealousy, if there's some anger, if there's some resentment, if there's some kind of nagging feeling of like that could never be me, or like I'm the responsible one, or I'm the good one, or I'm kind of like the older brother in the um
Oh.
and the prodigal son, right? Like
Yeah.
I'm the one that stays home and takes care of the farm. Like if if that is kind of who you've been in your life and you haven't allowed yourself to think about other things, I think it would be really interesting just to see what comes up.
Mhm.
Um, and again, that doesn't mean that you're going to abandon the family farm. It
Mhm.
could be that you build model airplanes in the barn and you love it. You know what I mean? Like you don't know. It's like you don't know. It doesn't mean a complete abandonment of your life or a complete redirection. I mean, that's not what happened for me. What happened for me was clarity around things that I was already moving towards.
Right.
And so um I think it would be potentially really freeing for someone who had never really let themselves um think beyond what they'd seen or what they'd seen their parents do, or what beyond the life that was sort of expected of them, and um just to be curious, right? And not, again, not you're not going to like jump off a boat into the middle of the ocean and drown. Like it's more like, do we want to maybe turn the wheel 1 degree south and go in a slightly different trajectory on this boat? Like, is there a place I've always wanted to go that I've never prioritized? And what would it be like for me to prioritize taking that trip or doing that? It's like, I think it can look a bunch of different ways, but so for people in transition, people that have never really kind of let themselves dream, uh, I think it'd be great for people that say yes a lot. Um, if you're a person that says yes a lot and you feel resentful, um, especially if you feel like people are ungrateful about all that you're giving, that's it's a yellow light, to slow down and maybe stop and take stock of, like, doesn't mean that what you're giving is bad, doesn't mean the fact that you're giving it is bad. It's just maybe um, there is also space for you in that, you know. Maybe it's a both
Yeah.
and it's you know to be able to move through your life without resentment towards other people who dream, or resentment about how much you're giving. I think honestly, just that would be really
Yeah.
freeing,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. The dreaming without limits part, I think, is really, really important because when I set up the exercise where you come up with your list, and you said a couple times that your list had like 20 things on it and it was kind of all over the map.
Yeah.
Um, but you really honored the instructions of the exercise, and that was to dream without limits. If it sounds inviting to you and inspiring even a little bit, write it on your list. If it sounds impossible, write it down anyway. Like, don't get in your way. Don't try to figure out the how. We're not there yet.
Right.
And so I think you took those instructions to heart and you really attempted to dream without limits. So you coming back with a list of 20 wasn't in any way wrong. It was you having permission that
Right.
nothing is off the table. And now we are going to go through the process of congratulating your humanness and that you can't save the world and you only have 24
Yeah.
hours a day to work with
Yeah.
and you have a lot of obligations, especially in that season. You were taking care of someone in your life pretty much all the time, and that was consuming a lot of your time. So, and a lot of your emotional energy and bandwidth. So you couldn't have focused on 20 things. But I think I just want to honor you in saying first, you you really took to heart the directions for that assignment, and you're like, I'm writing it down. That might sound impossible and it might not actually end up being the thing that I spend time on, but is going on the list. So,
Going on the list.
yeah.
Well, I think, it's funny because um, I'm a person that likes to do things like the dream.
Yes. I was like, you also were very willing participants and not having any idea where I was leading all of us.
Totally. I mean, but I'm just interested. I don't know. I'm interested in this kind of thing, right? I like to grow. And I'm just interested. So um one of the so it wasn't the first thing that I had ever done that was inviting me to dream, I guess. It was the right thing at that time.
Mhm.
Um But one of the other things that I sort of had maybe in my psyche or in my body when I went away with that list is something my old pastor said, which is, what would you do if you knew you could not fail?
Ooh.
And that question, again, it's like sometimes a question really just changes your life. And I was like, I would be a professional singer. And that was like 2011. And I was like, oh no, now I know this thing about myself. Crap.
Well, I
You know?
actually remember that because I remember having a conversation with you not long after that where you were like, "I kind of abandoned the performing part, and that is really, really important to me right now."
Yep.
So you took that off of the back burner, out of the shadows, and you brought it out into the front.
Yep. Yes. And um it really, again, like I took baby steps towards that and um lived into that for a season, like kind of the season before I did the Dream Lab with you.
Mhm.
Um and then so coming to that list of like dream big, I think sometimes the things that help or that help maybe cause us to modulate down our vision is like the thought of like, well, I couldn't, or it's impossible, or I don't have the money, or I'm really, for me, like the fear of failure. Um, I'm or the fear of what other people are going to say or whatever. It's like, okay, if you had everyone in the world's approval and you knew you couldn't fail and you had all the money in the world, like what would you do? Right? Like
Mhm.
there's sometimes I have to sort of mentally take those constraints off myself to give myself permission to expand
Mhm.
my heart, you know.
Yeah. Yeah, so good, Chels. What do you think stops people from living their dreams?
Oh my gosh, the day-to-day reality of having to make money and, the grind of the lack, feeling like there's a lack of time. Maybe it's having never seen anybody do it. It's uh having a set expectation of what living your dream is supposed to look like.
Mhm.
I think can really stop a lot of people because they have an idea in their head and they look at their current life and they think, "Oh, I could never do that." And it's like, maybe you couldn't. Maybe you can't quit your job and abandon your children to go like sing in a country band. And, it's
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
but does that mean that you can't take a step towards opening up the part of your heart that wants to sing or that wants to, it's like, I think we think the steps have to be huge, um, or that to live your dream is means it has to be your career. That's
Yes. Oh, thank you for bringing that up. Expound upon that. I
well,
even hate that word. It's not inspiring it to me at all.
totally. Yeah, your vocation and your career can be very different.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I think I have a vocation as a mom, I have a vocation as a teacher, I have a vocation as a writer, maybe even as a performer, I don't know, but there are so many different ways, and like when I'm doing what feels the center to me, like I'm writing, but I also love teaching and I get paid to do that. It's not um it's not a for me, I would have a really hard time working in a bank. I've done it. I've worked many desk jobs at like construction companies, and I end up making like art out of paper clips. It's really, really terrible. One time I was making art out of paper clips and my like temp boss like walked in to check on me and I was like, oh, whoops. Um,
Well, in fairness, you had already finished all the work they gave you for a whole week
they,
in, like,
I,
24 hours, so
it's true. Boring. I was so bored. Um, yes, but you know, so what might stop somebody is not seeing an opportunity that's readily available. For example, like if you wanted to work in a different job, but there wasn't that business didn't exist in your area, you know, or um, uh, or thinking that it has to be, yeah, your career. Um, so my job, which has changed a lot, has almost always been something educational and music. That's usually where I'm. making my money. I'm teaching music in some form. It has changed throughout the years. Right now I teach private voice lessons. This is the first time in my life I've ever done that in the last 3 years. Um,
And you're brilliant at it, I might add. Having
well,
observed you doing it, I was like, "Oh my gosh, these kids don't understand," or maybe they do. Maybe on some level they realize how well you love them in that process. Go ahead.
and it's funny. What even stopped me from doing that before is I grew up in a household where if you were going to teach voice, you had to have a master's degree in voice,
Oh.
and like it was all or nothing. You are either an opera singer and you teach voice, or you do not teach voice. And so I had to work through some of those beliefs from my family and realize I actually know quite a bit more about singing than an 11-year-old. Um, and I could I probably have something to teach them.
It's true. You only have to be a step ahead.
Yes. I mean, I've got to get, I'm a few steps down, the pathway, but I don't have to be on an operatic stage to teach an 11-year-old. Um, as it turns out, no more. I know more than a middle schooler, which is good to know. So, and now that I'm doing it and I like what I'm doing, I'm taking 2 grad school classes this summer for the first time in vocal pedagogy. Because I want to learn more, right? I didn't like start out there. I started with, oh, somebody asked me for voice lessons, and okay, I guess I could say yes to that and have some students. And then more students asked me, and I was like, oh, this is fun. And now that I'm a mom, I can stay home and do this. And oh, that's an interesting like way that kind of, I could work out both priorities in my life. And um, so it's um it- but I, writing is not where I'm making my money.
Mhm.
Um, but writing is where I mean, I just come so alive, you know.
Mm.
Um, and I'm alive when I'm teaching. It really is like I don't think I could probably live my whole life without ever doing it again. I really like what I'm doing. I love working with students. But if I was only working with students and I wasn't writing, I think that there would be something missing.
Mhm.
I think it would be I don't think I would be living into my full um what I'm here for. Um and which is interesting because my dad didn't like teaching. He never wanted to teach. He only ever wanted to write.
Mm.
And he did that. He only ever wrote music. And so I kind of, have a foot in each of these worlds and feel grateful that I have a way to make money that's not
Mhm.
in a bank. Um but if I did work at a bank and it didn't kill me, um then I'd have to prioritize writing in some other way. You know,
Yeah.
I'd just with your time. So anyway, I'm way off the topic. I don't even know what the question
No,
was
I did wanna
anymore.
point out 2 things that you said there really quickly. One of them is, I think dreams a dream for one person could be something simple and small, like or not small, I shouldn't say that, that's not the right word, but, like, for Elkin, she just wanted to love her family really, really well and be available for them and create meaningful quality time as a family.
Yes.
But for somebody else, what might come up for them is, I need to make more aggressive or radical decisions. I might need to quit a job that is sucking the life out of me and make a really big pivot or move to a different state or a different country. Um,
Yeah.
and so I think there's room for whatever that looks like for you in that season. One of my friends, I took through the Dream Lab course 2 years ago, and one of her top 5 was that she is deeply interested in repurposing old clothes to breathe new life into them. Like, she sews, she crochets and knits and stuff like that, and she loves doing that. Like, that is deeply meaningful to her, to breathe new life into a garment. She also actually ended up picking up and moving to a different city as a result of the Dream Lab pretty quickly, like, in less than 2 months, probably. So, she had both something very deeply meaningful to her that I don't know what's the right word, Chelsea, help me. Not simple,
Well,
it's not small, it's just
it's
not
personal.
it's very, very personal and not necessarily life altering. It's something that she really loved and was passionate about. So I just want to make sure that people understand there's room for everybody. Whatever your dreams are, whatever comes up for you in this process, 'cause it's gonna look different for everybody. And then the second thing that I think you hit on, do you wanna comment on that first before I say the second thing?
Well, I was just going to say, eh, to your point about it not being small, um, if your dream is, if you find a lot of meaning and joy in repurposing garments, like to know that and name it
Yeah.
might not be a small thing because it might mean that you spend less time doing other things that
Oh,
you don't love.
yeah.
And it might mean that actually your joy increases, but that doesn't mean it has to become your job.
Right.
And so I think it can be life altering, but again, that life alteration, if you will, haha,
Ah, pun
um,
intended. You guys do
the
that so
fun that
well. You Chelsea.
we fun. Um, but the alteration might be not a huge move or not a career change or
Okay.
not a breakup or something,
Yeah.
but but that but it's important to her,
Mhm.
you know? Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
And
that
then
was
the
a
other thing you were
really helpful distinction, yeah, because it could be super life-altering in the context of saying yes to something that brings her life and no to something that's sucking her soul dry.
totally.
The other thing that you touched on was as one person starts to move in the direction of their dreams, taking baby steps, it inspires other people to do the same.
Hmm.
I really, really do believe that. Because as you and Elkin, like, I remember dropping Elkin off. One of hers was she wanted to get back into directing musicals.
Mhm.
Well, she signed up for that class that you were taking
Oh,
in the
yeah.
North Hollywood Theater, and I don't remember what happened. I think her car was in the shop or something, and she was like, "Hey, can you drop me off at this class?" And I was like, "Absolutely." And I remember dropping her off in North Hollywood and watching her walk away, and I was like, "Oh my god, these 2 are gonna make a Broadway musical. That is going to happen."
Ah.
And I just remember thinking, wow, they baby steps. Hey, I found this class. I'm going to call the number and I'm going to sign up and I'm going to go to the class. Tiny things in the direction. And it was super inspiring to me to watch as your friends, to hold space for the two of you as you just made space in your own lives for the things that you love.
Yeah, and I do think being in a spot like Los Angeles is built on dreams, right? I mean,
Yeah.
everybody it is a city. People move there from Kansas, I mean, or Kentucky, as it were, with me. Um, you know, um, so there's a lot of energy and possibility thinking.
Yes.
There's also a lot of cost.
Yeah.
People are, they are bearing a lot of cost to be there trying to live out their dreams. So it's a both and. It, but being in a space where there is a lot of energy around thinking bigger or just thinking beyond what you can see right now, um, can help be freeing. And so if you are a person who, for example, lives in a small town in Pennsylvania or
Oh, yes. I am contemplating all the things right now. Go ahead.
totally, but doing something like the Dream Lab, it's like, here is this thing that is available to you. It's available to you online. Like you sometimes have to work a little harder to find the community that is going to support your, your expansion. Um, and, and thankfully, because of the internet, it's possible to find people, it's possible to find people that like repurpose other, old clothing. If that's the thing you want to do and you wanted to find people that did it and kind of learn more about it, there are people online. I'm guaranteed there's a Facebook group about it. So I think there is a lot of potential, um, both in like the accessibility of the Dream Lab for people that maybe don't live in a space where they have um, they have people around them that are kind of thinking that way or living that
Mhm.
way, or trying to think outside of the box that they've always known of, think about, outside of their comfort zone. Um, the Dream Lab would be really helpful in terms of creating a community, or like even going through it with, even if you went through it with strangers that lived in other states, but
Mhm.
it's, you make meaningful connections with
Yeah.
people that can help you just take the next step towards joy. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh, Chelsea, I am delighted that my audience, my small audience, albeit right now, that is not it's not gonna stay that forever because I really think the world needs this right now. I'm delighted that they got to know you a little bit this time in this podcast. Do you have any, well, 2 more questions. 1, tell us a little bit about Marion because you've been working on this for 8 years, almost 9?
Yes. Yep. Yep. So Marion is the original musical that Elkin and I started, and is now our team has expanded to include 5 women. And it follows the story, true story. It's based on the true story of Marian Anderson, who was a Black opera singer in the 1930s. She had this huge voice, and many, many doors were closed to her in the United States, and so she moved to Europe and became incredibly famous, singing and speaking like 7 different languages. And when she moved back to the United States, she was actually the highest paid concert singer in the world.
Oh, wow.
um, yeah, she was making what would today be like in the million, a couple $1 million or something. So she was, when I say she was famous, I mean she was
Yeah.
famous. The European newspapers across Europe called it Marian Fever. They were obsessed with her. And when she came back to the US for her homecoming tour, the Daughters of the American Revolution shut her out of their concert hall in DC because she was Black. And they had a no Negro policy, and they weren't willing to bend it, even though Eleanor Roosevelt, the first lady at the time, asked them to make an exception or asked them to change, do something about it. And they kind of held firm to you know, their tradition, if you will. And it sparked this huge controversy. And suddenly, Marian Anderson, who was just a singer, right? She was an opera singer. She just wanted to sing. She was not an activist at all. Like, I mean, at least not in any overt way. Um, she was kind of in the cross kind of the crossfire of this controversy. And Eleanor Roosevelt and multiple other people in the cabinet, in the presidential cabinet, worked behind the scenes to help create an opportunity for Marian Anderson to sing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. And they had 10 days notice to get people there. This is like
Without
pre-social
internet,
media.
yeah, I was gonna say.
No, no internet. It's like all you have is the newspaper and the radio. Good luck. And they announced the concert, and 10 days later, 75,000 people showed up.
Wow.
And it was the first racially integrated concert in the history of our capital, of our nation's capital. Um, I mean, it's beautiful. If you look at the crowd, you can see, I mean, it's black and white, all mixed together. Um, and so Marian Anderson gave this concert, and it really sparked a nascent civil rights movement. So I love this story. I think it's so incredible. One of the things I love about it is that Marian actually had a complete breakdown the night before the concert and tried to cancel it. And she actually
Oh,
really didn't want to do it. And so
oh,
our
God bless
show
her.
kind of opens with that, and then we catch up later to
Yeah.
why did she try to cancel it. And it's,
That's a
hopefully,
lot of pressure.
it was so much pressure, especially, at the time. It's like
How
she
old
was
was
sort
she
of,
then?
she would have been 42. She
Oh,
was my
okay,
age.
okay.
I'm almost 42. Um, yeah, uh, yeah, it was so much pressure. Um, and she just, no matter what she did, it was going to be wrong, right? If she did the concert, she might lose most of her white audience, in the United States, or at least in the South. If she didn't do it, the African American community was going to be like, wait, what? Like, you're abandoning us. And yet, sort of like with President Obama, many African Americans were like, wait, please don't, because we don't want anything to happen to you. What if there's violence? And then, white people wanted her to be the face of the civil rights. I mean, it was just such a mess. And she was being sort of, all of these identities and these motivations were being put upon her by other people. And she had to find a way to either sing or not sing. And ultimately she decided to do it. And so our show explores her journey into deciding why to do that, and what gave her the courage ultimately to make that step, because it had ripple effects for decades and decades. 10-year-old Martin Luther King Jr. heard her sing on the radio because it was live broadcast over NBC. And, she was singing on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial 24 years before the I Have a Dream speech. And so she was a forerunner. I think of her as like a John the Baptist kind of character in the civil rights movement. She was a forerunner and kind of an unwilling one, She was like, I'm just an artist. And to see her live into this destiny that she never imagined or dreamed about or wanted even, and yet she was brave enough to choose. It altered the course of our history, and it also altered her personal life in massive ways. So I love the story. We've been working on the musical for 8 years. We have a team of 5 women writers, 3 Black and 2 white. So it's this beautiful collaboration across 3 generations. So a multiplicity of perspectives and opinions, and very much a democratic process of, listening to each other and disagreeing, and yet finding what was right about the other person's idea, like not shutting it down, but like, okay, yes, something in there is right. And so let's try to tease that out and then keep going with our brainstorm. And man, this is what I mean when you got to love the process, because it's so long.
It is. And for Broadway musicals, I remember you and your parents, we all gathered to watch that TV show that Steven Spielberg produced with Megan Hilty about Broadway.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Smash.
Yeah, Smash. I forgot the name of it.
Yep.
And I feel like you and Elkin knew that going in, that's probably about how long it would take to bring something to life on the stage.
I think we had in our minds, 7 to 10 years and, $10 million is what they say. Knowing that, that's like somebody being like, you're going to have a baby. And you're like, I know how to give birth. I read a book about it. That's sort of the difference, Having been through it, I can tell you it's a lot more involved. It's a lot more involved.
That's so funny. And this is why I love you. This is why I think anyone who listens to this is going to adore you. Oh, my stars.
Yeah,
do you have any final thoughts or words of encouragement for anyone out there who might be longing for something more, whether they know they are not living their dreams or whether they don't, but there's just an unsettledness? What encouragement do you have for them?
Oh gosh. Just be curious. Just be curious. Be curious about what you're feeling. Be curious about what isn't working and why. I think the willingness to just let go of your expectations, even if you just suspend them for 15 minutes, long enough to do an exercise, long enough to answer a question, long enough to journal, long enough to talk to a friend, whatever the process is. I think it's practicing curiosity towards your own desires is really valuable. And I think I also just want to say it's not selfish to do the thing that you're made for. Um, you know, I I would have thought that, um, and I think I did think that for a long time. It had to look like I had to be working for a nonprofit for my life to count. It wasn't enough just to write music. And as it turns out, you can bring meaning and beauty to whatever it is you're doing, right? Like if you're going to make model airplanes, it doesn't mean that there isn't a possibility for it to not give good in the world. Like who knows? Maybe it's you connect with somebody else online and that only person's friend. I mean, who knows? You just don't know
Yeah.
how when you take a step towards or you're just curious enough to ask some questions or to take one step, um, how your life will unfold and the good and beauty that you will bring into the world through living in alignment with how God made you.
Yeah.
Because if I was working in a bank, dear God, first of all, nobody wants me working in a bank. I'm terrible with details. But I there is something in the world that I'm meant to give.
Mhm.
And whatever that thing is, like it's valuable and it's worth finding out about.
Mhm.
Um, and it's valuable no matter how small you think it is. So, um, yeah, be courageous enough to be curious.
Mm. Yeah. It's not selfish to do the thing you're made for, whatever that looks like
Mm-mm.
in this season.
Yep.
Oh, permission granted, everyone, to do the thing that
Yes.
you're made for in this season.
Yes, absolutely.
Where can people find you and
Oh
what you're
God.
up to? You want to give your shout outs to the Marion website and I've just listened to The Caged Bird all over again. I went down memory lane a couple nights ago
Oh,
and I loved it. I just went back in time to
I know.
2015 when you recorded all of that at the house, and I was like, "Oh
I
gosh,
know.
which I have still a couple favorites songs there, but where can people find you, honey?"
So in terms of my musical theater work, you can go to Marian, Marian musical.com. And that'll give you sort of information. You can follow along. We've got our first test production next February and a couple productions, developmental productions next season, which is pretty amazing. So, like the 26, 27 season. And you can find sort of me and the creative hub of my work and my writing is at patreon.com/Chelsea, Chelsa Marie Davis. Um, and I do some sort of paid posts and some public posts, but I try to keep everybody updated on what I'm writing or what I'm teaching, or just if I do a new song, if I write a poem, whatever I'm working on, or processing even about motherhood, I contain to that audience. So I have people that have been walking with me, some of them for 7 or 8 years on Patreon as I've been writing Marion, and they've been with me the whole process and kind of been on a roller coaster and the ups and downs. And it's powerful for me to have people bear witness to the process. Kind of keeps me going when I'm really tired. Um, and then if you're looking for music on Spotify or YouTube or wherever, Chelsea Marie Davis is my personal brand, but my commercial brands, I'm sure Christina will put links to all of this, but
I will.
Roseport, Joan, Empty Oceans. I've got a few different projects that I've released music under and that are in the happy clappy variety and the
And I'm gonna take you on a journey into your soul variety.
totally. Yeah. So, strap in one way or the other. One of them is a kind of, you know, windows down joyride, and the other one is like
Grab the
you probably want
tissues.
to, yeah, grab the tissues and shut all of your blinds. So yeah.
Which
It's
speaking
like,
of which, that your song, I'll Leave the Light On. I played for a neighbor of mine. She's so sweet. I just met her. She had moved in recently, and I played it for her. I was like, we just started talking, and I realized she loved singing and songwriting and playing the guitar, and I was like, "Oh my god." I started talking about you. I told her your whole story. I was like, "Now she's writing a musical, and you have to hear this song." It's like, and I had my laptop with me out on the front porch, and I played her I'll Leave the Light On, and she nearly
Uh-huh.
burst into tears. I was like,
Aw.
"Oh, yeah, that's Chelsea. That's my Chelsea."
Aw. I know. If you're not crying, I'm not doing it right.
I'm just the power of lyrics and music to be the pressure valve that releases something that someone's been carrying that maybe they just need to let go.
Yeah.
The catharsis.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, yeah, and a lot of those songs were cathartic for me, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
Anyway,
you so much for your time. This went
you're
longer than I thought, but I
welcome.
appreciate all of your insight and your thoughtful answers and your humor and just
Yeah,
sharing of your
it's
heart.
so good to talk with you, Chrissy. I'm so proud of you, and I love that you are making this available to a wider audience because I've always felt like you have something that other people need.
Mhm.
You are uniquely gifted as an encourager. Like you are really good at calling out the good in other people.
Oh,
And it's like, man, I've just seen you do it over and over again. You are so good at just seeing something beautiful about somebody else and just naming it. And I think that's such a what a generous presence you have in the world, Chrissy. I'm so grateful for you. So anyway,
oh,
I love
gonna
you.
make me cry. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah,
I love
you're
you so
welcome.
much. Have a good day.
Mwah.
Bye.